Hi, everybody, and welcome back to yet another cracking edition of the Matt Brown Show. This is the Secrets of Fail series, where we are talking to founders and CEOs all about their epic business blunders. You know, the stuff they won't put on their LinkedIn timeline unless they've been on this show. And so with us on the line is the CEO of an amazing company, Dan Jones. Welcome to the show. But the company is called itresourcescorp.com if you are interested. So we're going to get into that in a moment. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Matt. And let's see if I can get it right. Uhanda?
So you've been hanging around with the South Africans, brother. Yeah, Uhanda. You gotta get that.
I've been working all week on that, Matt.
Are you really? I thought you might have been. You know what I mean? You kind of strike me as that type of guy. Oh, that's funny. Well, look, let's start with the elevator pitch, Dan. Sure. What are you guys up to at IT Resources Corp?
Yeah, at IT Resources, we make dreams come true. We're in the IT staffing and recruiting business, and we work with IT engineers and developers to help them get out of the environment, bad environment that they're in, and move their careers forward.
Mm-hmm. So, what makes you guys different?
It really comes down to having conversations that are distinct from the rest of the industry. 95% of our industry, it's get a candidate on the phone, make this big juicy sales pitch about the job and how great it is. And we kind of flip that around and put the candidate first and seek to understand what they're looking for, what they want in their career, and then try to, work with them to move their career forward inside of our, with customers that we know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting space now, I would say. Well, I suppose with AI and that, but all industries are in an interesting space now. But I think especially talent.
Yeah, it's going. Sooner or later, it's going to be disrupted substantially, I'm sure. The challenge right now is you still can't take the person out of the hire. I don't know how we do that. They still have to interview. It still has to be, go both ways. Everybody has to like each other. It's probably as simple as it sounds. Find the right position for the right person. There's a lot of wait times and failure points and things that can go wrong in a hiring process. So, as an HR director recently said to me, she said, I hate recruiting. It's the worst part of our jobs. And she goes, well, employee relations might be worse. Well, maybe.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, look, let's get into the meat and the potatoes of this series. So, Dan, what is your story of fail for our audience around the world today?
Yeah, so I'll actually go pre-business a little bit. I'm gonna go back to before business. From 14 to 26, I was 100% sure that there was exactly one thing I was going to do in the world, and that was pitch the big leagues, play professional baseball, and be a Major League Baseball player for my entire life. And to that point, I had a wonderful high school career, a wonderful college career. I got drafted in the second round in the Major League Baseball draft, and 5 or 6 years in, got to sit down with Cy Young Award winner Pete Vukovich and Ben Ogilvy, who were part of the Pittsburgh organization at the time where I was playing. And they handed me my release papers in a trash bag to go clean up my locker.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, talk about a dream being crushed in moments. Up until that moment, there was no question in my mind where I was going to go and what I was going to do.
Uh-huh. And so what happened?
Well, I mean, it was the end. I'd gotten hurt a couple times in my 5 years with the organization, and when your fastball goes from 90 something to 80 something, they don't have a spot for you anymore. Mm-hmm. And on that walk from the executive offices back into the locker room, literally with a 33-gallon trash bag in my hand. One of the minor league coaches to this day, Steve Watson was the guy's name. He stopped me along the way and said, "Don't let today's disappointment overshadow the hard work of all the time you've been here, and especially the last couple of years." My last couple of years with the organization, I had a shoulder injury and a knee injury, And he went on to say that the biggest reason I'd been there for those couple of years is to let the young kids, I was rehabbing at the rookie league facility, to let the 18, 19-year-old kids see what hard work looks like. And, it's humbling to have somebody say something like that. It's just very kind. He didn't have to go out of his way. He could have let me walk by just like everybody else did and not say a word. Mm-hmm. So it probably won't shock some people who know the baseball world that he's been a part of the Rays organization for the better part of a decade. And, they're well known for developing people and having people come up out of the minor league system and make big contributions in their big league organizations because of guys like him.
This idea has come up a few times, weirdly enough, because usually it's a business failure or whatever. But what's come up a few times, for like 3 or 4 times now, is there were a CEO, successful company. It's interesting, right? Like it's the secret of failure. It's the entrepreneurship sort of business focused show, right? And then a CEO goes and chooses a formative experience like that. And there was one almost the same, like they were trying up something and then, it didn't work out or whatever. So, and because of these formative experiences, that they kind of mold you right into the person that you are today. So from an insights or a lessons perspective, Dan, like how did that experience, that formative experience, make you a better entrepreneur and CEO?
Yeah. And, and I look back on that time now, and during those baseball years, singular focus. You're trying to climb through the ranks. You're fighting your way up through the organization. And what I'm 100% sure about is the last thing I cared about was relationships and people around me. And I know I was not welcoming and friendly to teammates, coaches, parents, friends, girlfriends. There's probably a few apologies I didn't make this day. It's just nothing else mattered. It was the focus on the goal, and literally nothing else mattered. I don't know how I made it through college, to tell you the truth. I look back on that and it amazes me that I went to college at Northwestern, one of the best universities in the country. And I don't, somehow, I fooled somebody, I guess. I don't know. So, but no, it was really learning from that and learning how important that was to as I got into business and started to work, what I figured out very quickly is that, friends come and go and enemies tend to linger. Mm. And it makes business really hard to, it didn't take long. And some of the first organization I worked for in the industry, they did things that I questioned, where it was, work for us or you're never going to work again in this town. Things like that were said. I'm like, do we really want to treat people like that? Is that really who we want to be in the industry? And I spent a few years there and just thought, this is crazy. I can go do this on my own. And never looked back.
So Dan, if you could get into the Matt Brown Show time machine and do things differently, like, would you do anything differently?
It part of that, there's certainly there's certainly studies around that, right? And around that focus and that singular focus and 10,000 hours to be an expert in anything, right? And it's the chase of perfection, right? During that time. And I'm 100% sure that it was all, the foot was on the gas 100% of the time, no brakes ever. And, we've all heard it, stop to smell the roses. I'm not sure I ever did. I'm not sure I ever took time to enjoy it when I was in the middle of it. And so, to somebody who is in the middle of it, maybe that's the coaching point. Maybe that's the thing that I wish I could have done. So, but the other hard part of it is sometimes things break, in my case, and, in the athletic world, it's your body, I think I heard Huey Long say it once, is that your career is like elevators going in opposite directions. And when you're young in your career, you're athletic and you can do anything and you can move, but you don't know where the plays are going. And at the end of your career, you know exactly what's going to happen, but you just can't get there anymore So it's, you hope you learn along the way, right? Get better every day.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your advice, Dan, to other CEOs and entrepreneurs right now. What is your advice to them in terms of the importance of failing in business success?
Yeah, and that's, with all that around, relationships and people, the thing that I'm sure of now as an owner and CEO, and what I do every day is I do everything I can to make sure our people are put in positions to win, and to succeed. And it's not about me ever. It's not about me, what kind of car I drive or what kind of house I live in. None of that matters. It's about putting the organization first and putting people first. And whether it's inside the organization, our internal employees, and coaching and teaching, and we've got a wonderful training program where we bring people, a lot of folks in right out of college, and teach them the business. And we've seen careers flower, and people with us, and people who've moved on and had wonderful careers. And and I want to be friends with all of them.
Well, I interviewed Leif Babin. He wrote the book Extreme Ownership, and it was a New York Times bestseller. And he's obviously a former Navy SEAL. And what you said is kind of what he said to me, which is also that's what the best leaders do. Like it's not, the old way is like, yeah, everybody works for me. I'm the boss, and, I'm the CEO, and I get to tell people what to do, But actually it's the other way around. Like the most effective leaders are in service provision. They're not in dictatorship. And that's, and that's kudos to you, man, for building a business around that.
Well, and it's a lot of hard work around, helping grow and giving them responsibility and pushing them. And if it's comfortable, and if I'm comfortable with where we're at and where we're growing, I'm probably not pushing hard enough. Right? I'm probably not taking enough risk. So that's part of it too. But first it's about understanding where they want and where they're at in their career and where they want to go. Right? Because that's what matters. I can't want more for someone's career than they want for them.
So, Dan, are there books or tools or resources that you encourage other CEOs to use on their journey?
Yeah, when it comes to books and self-help and all those things, there's so many wonderful resources out there, and certainly the conversation around mental health is distinct from where it was 10, 20 years ago. But for me, the fallback and the guide to life is it's a book that's been around for a couple thousand years. It's the Bible, my friend. It's at the core of it. It's can we all get along? Teach us to love each other. Mm-hmm. I think the world could use a little more of that these days.
Yep, I couldn't agree with you more, man. Well, look, Dan, that concludes your time in the hot seat. I appreciate you sharing your, being vulnerable and sharing your story on the Secrets of Fail series, and for making a difference, man. And this is what this is all about. It's what I'm about. So thank you for helping me do that.
Matt, great work. Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.